Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
And this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped, where you use the code DANGLE to get 20% off your first order. How cool is that?
And free shipping.
And free shipping, that too. You can get the Lawnmower 4.0 package. It's got the light. It's got the skin-safe technology. It's got the ball deodorant. Steve, you're using the soap and the shampoo and the conditioner for your hair from Manscaped?
Just have regular deodorant and also this like moisturizer spray.
From Manscaped?
From Manscaped. Yeah. No, I wasn't like promoting another brand in the middle of our... Yeah, it's Manscaped.
Does it smell like man? Do you feel like a man afterwards?
My wife likes it.
Oh.
Which, I mean, that's how I judge whether or not it smells good.
I mean, ultimately, that's all that matters.
The body wash is top tier. It smells really good, and it gets really clean. It's good body wash.
So again, use that promo code DANGLE. So hey, just before the show started, we found out from the Ontario government that they're dropping all vaccine passports at the end of March, and that includes, we were expecting full capacity limits by mid-March, but that timetable has moved up, thankfully, because of falling hospitalizations, which is great news. So that means that 50% capacity, I believe, as of now, at Leafs and Senators games. Thursday. Leafs and Senators games, and then as of March 1st, if everything goes to plan, we should be back at full capacity arenas. And, that'll be great. I mean, obviously the Leafs are losing a ton of money, but the NHL is losing a ton of money from the Leafs losing a ton of money. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure the NHL will be thrilled about that. Thrilled to take your money. And of course, the Ottawa Senators, I mean, they're on life support anyway, in the best of times, financially. So
they've been poking the bear the most about trying to play games at another venue, according to sources. Eugene has been tapping Bedman, and eventually now he's gotten out of it, but he's had every single plan trying to play in the U.S., trying to play in Saskatchewan because their restrictions are a little easier.
Right.
And he never got the approval. But
every plan or every complaint?
Every complaint.
Yeah, not plan.
The Jets had a plan that we heard about and went, that could make some sense. Mm-hmm. With the Sens, we've just heard, I want to go somewhere else.
I mean, to be fair,
where's somewhere else?
Yeah.
Order dinner, hun. What do you want? Something else.
To be fair
it's not a plan.
To be fair to the Senators organization, they were trying to play somewhere else before the pandemic started. So This is just a continuation of their strategy since the outdoor game in 2018 when Eugene Melnyk dissed all of Ottawa. So it's great news. It's exciting. It means progress. You're starting to see even like Toronto Public Health and Ontario Public Health starting to say things like, "Hey, things are looking good," and they have had to be the bearers of bad news for 2 years, which is a tough job. So this is great. Very excited about this. Now,
and I nailed it. These two games this week were ones that I highlighted.
Really?
I remember at the very beginning of it, I go, "There's two games real close to that date. I bet it gets moved up." And there it is. Penguins, Blues.
And are they away or home? They're home this week, right?
Those are home. So it works. This actually works out kind of conveniently for the Leafs because they're still on the road for most of February. Mm-hmm. But it at least moves up it's those games, and they got a home date against Minnesota, and then they're at home for a couple games at the beginning of March when it's 100%, right?
Yeah.
It's been fun watching Raptors games because they just have they've been doing the 500 fans each game this entire month, and they just have their little section of 500 fans, and then courtside along the benches, they still have those two courtside seats, and a couple times Drake will be in there. It'll just be a couple random people other times, but like having this little cheering section that the TV always pans to, it's been an interesting experience that we'll never see again in our lifetime.
It's nice that the Raptors on their broadcast actually had the ability to shout them out because the Leafs have had 500 fans in. You just can't see them.
Yeah.
And the camera. Yeah, this is the thing. I think we miss opportunities because we forget that we have an audience. If you're lucky enough to be in broadcasting, if you're lucky enough to do any sort of broadcast, be it to 20 people on Twitch or to 20 million people in the Stanley Cup Final. That's a little aggressive. Not 20 million, maybe 2 million. The thing we forget in hockey, especially, is that the fans are what counts. And I'm really surprised. First off, they covered off all the good seats in the Scotiabank Arena, and then when they did put the fans in there, they're all like spread out. And it's funny. This is the same organization that runs the Raptors.
Yeah.
And then the TV station that runs it, Sportsnet, TSN. None of them like, hey, they're the fans.
It's odd because they've taken a completely opposite approach with the basketball broadcast, where they have the little cheering section of 500 fans, and they're all kind of clumped together in the 100s there at Scotiabank.
Same
and they show
owner,
them.
Same owner, same broadcasters.
Yeah.
Completely different approach.
Right.
The Raptors are fan first. The Leafs are like, well, you're lucky to be here. I hope you're enjoying.
Yeah, but they're like that when it's full.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not going to be here.
Very true. Very, very true. But anyway, it's great to see. It'll be nice to hear some noise. I think, honestly, did you guys see a game this year? Have you seen a game this season in person?
Yeah, they lost.
Okay, I remember the first home game with full capacity in the fall, and it was like quiet. It's almost like people didn't know how to act. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there was definitely, the vibe was off, and I had a few people wanted pictures, and I was like, well, do I take my mask off for it? Like, I know if I was taking a picture with someone, I would want that. Am I allowed to do that? Am I about to get tackled? Like, I don't know. I just hadn't been in public for 2 years. I didn't know what to do with my hands.
I can't wait to see one. I haven't seen a game since before Everly was born.
I've been trying to get tickets for some of the later games, and they haven't been on sale yet. Just because they don't know. So maybe now that their restrictions are going to be lifted, they'll go back to regular sale. You can't get tickets anyways, but even like the resale, you couldn't even do it. You couldn't even do the Ticketmaster resale. So we'll see.
Not even StubHub with their hey, we got a 40% markup on these tickets. And we haven't even charged you the service fees yet.
The $80 tickets are now $280. It's crazy,
and you're gonna like it. The other thing that I'm really excited about is just looking forward to going to a game. You know, when you wake up that morning, you're like, I have tickets to a game tonight. It doesn't matter what happens in my day today. It's a game day. I'm looking forward to that excitement. I miss that feeling. And that Pittsburgh game, by the way, we're going to play this week, is the game that my girlfriend was supposed to take me to over the Christmas holidays for my Christmas present.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But they refunded the tickets.
Oh, okay. So
we don't have tickets. No.
They didn't just postpone the tickets or anything?
No, they just were like, here you go. We're not sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, exciting news in Ontario. That's great. I want to ask this, though, before we get any hockey in. Jesse, how much money did you lose on the Super Bowl yesterday?
Oh, my God. I had a weekend.
Did you?
Oh, my gosh. So, Saturday, I went 7-0 betting on hockey. It was stupid.
What?
Yeah.
What? 7-0 betting on
stupid.
hockey. Sorry, dumb decision. Take your model and stuff it.
It's obviously a lot of luck in there, but Steve helped me out with a bet.
What was the bet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Would there be a goal within the first 9 minutes of the Leafs Canucks game?
Of course.
Steve was like, yes, there's going to be a goal. Got me that one. And then I bet everything against the Canadiens in the Canadiens game, because I was like, the narrative's going to be, okay, St. Louis comes in, they're gonna get this game. You know, it's going to be Washington. They're going to steamroll Washington because new coach and everything. So I just took the opposite approach. I did like, they'll score under 2 goals, they'll lose the game outright, and those all hit. And then I hit another one on the Leafs scoring like 2+ goals or something like that. So I hit that.
Easy.
And then Sunday for the Super Bowl, I went 13-4 on my prop bets.
Wow.
So I took all the money on Saturday, and I was like, fuck it. This money I didn't have. Who cares? I'm going to throw it all on the Super Bowl. It was like a couple $100. And I fucking went 13-4.
Wow.
You went 20-4 over the weekend?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'll show you. I'll send you the screenshot of the my bet slip. I think I have it actually. My bet, because I was like, I'm saving this for the rest of my life. I might print it out and frame it. Because
you'll never do better.
Look at this. I might frame this because
you should frame that. That's a good weekend.
Ridiculous it is. Just all of the green wins. Anyways, crazy that you brought that up.
No, I had to because
I had a great weekend.
So I was looking at this, and you're not going to believe this. So Drake put $1.6 million down for the Super Bowl in Canadian dollars, so it's 1.3 American. All of it's Bitcoin, but he bet because Odell Beckham Jr. I didn't realize this. Odell was Drake's roommate for a while, and they trained together. So they're buddies.
Yeah.
So he bet on Odell getting a touchdown, which he got. Odell was 10 yards away from Drake getting he bet on to get like 62.5 yards or something like that. He got 52.
55. Yeah.
And then of course for St. Louis to win the Super Bowl. So he, of the 1.3 he gave out, he made $1.075 million. So he
That's
paid
okay.
out 1.3 and then made another $1 million on top of that.
Crazy.
So the payout is $2.29 million. It's not bad.
That's not bad, Drake.
3 solid bets. And I wondered, what did you specifically bet on with the Super Bowl?
I could go through the prop bets.
Go through them.
Because I was sitting there, I was with my dad and my sister, and we watched the Super Bowl. And like the first thing I bet on was the national anthem because that's the most fun thing in the world.
Of
I was sitting there with
Yeah.
my stopwatch on my iPhone. I bet over 1:45. It went like 1:59 or something like that. It was electric. The national anthem. Never been so hyped for that. Then I bet heads on the coin toss. Hit the heads.
Yes.
I bet.
That's amazing, by the way. I'm just like, go. Stretch it out.
Because she
I
started
had
so
tails.
fast. I don't
I
know
had
if you
tails.
guys watched the national anthem, but she started so
Yeah,
fast. It
she
was
did.
like a minute in, and she was like 3/4 of the way through. I was like, I'm fucked. And then she kept going. She stretched out some notes and hit the 145 over. And then I had Cup over receptions. He hit that at the last catch of the game for the touchdown. He had 9 receptions.
Oh, you must have been so
And
pumped.
I had the under in the second quarter. I had the under in the first half. Both of those looked like they were going to go over, and then miraculously they didn't. I took an alt line where I had the Rams -1.5, so I didn't get screwed with because most people took Rams -3.5. So if the score ends, Rams win by 3, you lose on that on the half point. So most people at the end got screwed on if you bet the Rams to win with the money line. But I took an alt line with -1.5. I got that. And then Jamar Chase had 5 receptions, and I bet under 5.5 receptions. So I hit that by 1 reception at the end of the game. It was you got to get real lucky with this stuff to have like a good weekend.
That's incredible.
And then I bet the under a couple times like throughout the game. That the score would be under 48.5 points, and I bet that a couple times, and then I hit all those. So
if
it was a good weekend.
If you're playing, I'm going to ask you about the money part in a second, but if you're playing with money that you can afford to have some fun with, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of going out for the weekend, you spend $50 or $100 on a meal, you spend it on this. It can make things really fun.
Yeah.
And I never do it, and I should, but I've got friends that do it, and you could just see how you got jacked up for the national anthem. Man, I skipped the national anthem. I don't give a shit about the national anthem. I hate the national
It
anthem.
made it so compelling watching her just sing the national anthem. It's a game now.
Yes.
And you cheer,
an
slow
event.
down.
Yeah.
Slow down. Let me hear the music.
Where's Fergie? I have to say, so a couple of observations before though we get to that. I want to ask you about how much money did you make?
A couple $100.
Couple $100.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like everybody.
Yeah.
That's
That wasn't
nice.
bad.
That's great. So my girlfriend Natalie's a lot like Steve, knows nothing about football, cares nothing for football. And Joe Burrow was sitting on the sideline. She's like, "That's an attractive man right there." And I said, "You could feel the sex appeal just dripping off him, couldn't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, he looks confident." I'm like, "Oh, you've got no idea." So then she went down the rabbit hole and creeped his Instagram and his girlfriend's Instagram, which is what you do. And so now she's a Bengals fan. And that's a problem for me
Wow.
because I'm a Steelers fan. They're in the same division. Now, Steve,
Wow.
I want to ask you what your takeaways were from the big game.
I also think Joe Burrow's hot. It was exciting. I liked that it was very back and forth, though. It seemed higher scoring than usual, but Jesse hit on a bunch of unders, so maybe it wasn't. It was the first, as a non-football fan, it was the first Super Bowl in a long time where I'm like, I just hope both teams have fun, because it's like I didn't really see anyone taking sides. Like there was always it's basically the pro Tom Brady or against Tom Brady side.
Yeah, usually it is, yes.
But it almost felt like wrestling, a rare wrestling face versus face.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it might be different for certain fan bases. Steelers fans like Adam going F you. No, it wasn't. It was actually heel versus face.
I loved the Rams just beating them in the last minute. I just want to break Cincinnati's heart.
Yeah, and
Because they're so
Joe
much better
Burrow,
than the Steelers.
the young calf
Mhm.
coming in, taking on the old buck and Matt Stafford. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I liked it. I had chicken wings. That was the most important part.
Can I get your guys' thoughts on the halftime show?
I loved it. It's
It's great being a dad.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Time.
Like now the halftime show is for our generation, and I love that. I wish one thing. I did wish that, I don't know what they could have done, but it would have been nice to hear a somewhat of a nod to NWA in there at some point. There was no NWA. I know it's tricky, but those two albums were pretty sweet. If I'm gonna say anything, what I really enjoyed about it is that the stages are usually so big for the Super Bowl that you can't grab them on camera properly, right? Like you look at how big, remember Prince's big symbol and everything, and every year these stages get bigger. There's no way that an artist could possibly cover all that. So what they did was they took the stage and made those LA style houses, right? And had each of them be their own little vignette. And I really thought that was cool. So you were close up on Kendrick. You could see 50 Cent drop from the rafters. That thing where, Dr. Dre is behind the control board and it raises up in front of the audience. I thought, what a cool way to shoot that. And I hope that that's the way they shoot live performance in the future, because that's at the Grammys. When I went to the Grammys, they have 3 stages and they kind of just rotate them. And that's how you have band after band after band after band after band is that you're able to set up and tear down 2 or 3 stages at once. I thought that was, for me, the coolest part, just the nerdy side of it, of I thought it was the best shot Super Bowl halftime I've ever seen.
You weren't the nerdiest, though.
Oh,
because
what's the nerdiest?
I did see some bets for who is the surprise guest going to be? And my earnest answer in my head was hologram Tupac.
Oh, like Coachella Tupac.
Yeah.
I 1,000%. Well, you just look at the lineup. It's the Super Bowl, so anything is possible. I definitely thought we were going to get a performance from hologram Tupac, and we didn't. I was disappointed.
That was a bet you could take.
Hologram Tupac?
Yeah, hologram, because there was rumors that was going to be the scenario. I think there was like a Daily Mail article on it that they were prepping the hologram to show up at the Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
And it didn't happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought that they were going to open with Forgot About Dre because it has his name in it. But the right thing to do was open with the next episode.
Yeah.
That's the song. And then, or if you wanted to switch that out, California Love would be another good one, but it had to be one of those two. What did you think, Jesse?
On Game Over Montreal on Saturday, Julian McKenzie had that debate towards the end of the towards the end of the Game Over. It was such a compelling conversation about something that's really not that important. But they were debating. Okay, what song do you open? Because I forget who made. I think it was Omar who made the point that if you started with Still Dre and like the stadium's dark and then you just hear the piano keys, like that would have been. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I think in the end they did the right thing with the next episode. Yeah. You know? Like that's the lead into everything.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And it like hit I feel like everybody on the internet loved it because the majority of the internet is just that age demo.
Yeah.
They hit all the Gen X and the millennials who were around in that time. And you're seeing these 50-year-old guys up there, and they're doing it. They're still so good. And this is my childhood, my teenage years, and these are all the songs I love. They nailed it.
It's how our dads felt when the Who took the stage and sucked.
Yeah.
We're now seeing the old guys perform, and that's our music. It was awesome. They nailed it. And Lose Yourself.
Go, dads.
Lose Yourself was amazing. It was so good. So, okay, I don't know if you guys saw the Vine, and this is... So people were like, oh, he's so cool when they saw this Vine. But you ever been to a concert with somebody that doesn't face the stage and faces you?
No.
What?
I went to a concert once with one of my ex-girlfriends who kept looking at me rather than... This happened to be an Usher concert.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember going like... I remember like being like, "Hey, like the show's that way. Like I'm down to dance, but stop. Like don't keep looking at me. It's really weird." And so there's a TikTok making its rounds, and maybe I'm kind of being a dick here because I actually like the artist, like their music, whatever. But Justin Bieber was ripping "Lose Yourself" so hard to everybody in the box that he was sitting in, and he was turned around, like looking at them like, I'm performing this too.
This is about me.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think he meant it that way, but you know what I mean?
No,
I was like,
Adam, say it.
It brought me back to the
Bieber,
Usher Raymond concert.
Justin Bieber is a pick-me.
I mean, it was a little bit of a pick-me move, which we're all guilty of, and I don't want to hate on Bieber because that guy gets so much hate, a lot of it needless, but man, I was like, oh, Like, I know, like, you know those people in high school that are just used to being the center of attention and they can't help it? That's Justin. And he might be a really nice guy.
Yeah, leather pants wild.
No, I wore the leather pants so I could finally be the center of attention.
That's true.
That wasn't because I was before.
In class. Yeah.
So that's the one. I was like, oh
this.
no, Justin. But I again, like, I don't want to be mean to Justin Bieber because he gets so much shit and doesn't deserve it. But it's like, it's one of those things where I was like, yeah. I almost sent it to the two of you and went, ugh.
So when your girlfriend was doing that at the Usher concert, was she doing it to get you to like look at her or just to like dance with you? Was she wanting the attention?
So I think it was like a combo of all that stuff. Yeah. And we were a little toasty, right? Like we had a little to drink in my no bedroom apartment before the big show. We couldn't afford to go out to a bar, so we drank in my apartment. And we went down. We had free tickets from the radio station. I was at Virgin Radio. I remember that. And we went, and she just. So if Usher's down that way, Jesse, and you're me, I'm like this. So your eye levels to the stage, right? And I'm just looking at you like, and like you're dancing or whatever, and then but they're dancing up to you, and you're like, I'm really uncomfortable.
I'm getting the icks.
Oh,
yeah.
Hard icks.
You got the ick.
Hard icks. And, you know, I a couple of times after that, when I took other girlfriends to shows, because you never know what your partner's going to be like until you go to a show with them. It's like traveling with them and going to a concert with them, right? I remember I went and saw Kanye West with my former co-host Blake, her boyfriend, and my girlfriend at the time, different girlfriend. And I was so paranoid about the same thing happening to me again, because, again, I was really young when this happened, and I thought, maybe most girls do this. I don't know. So so it was Blake's boyfriend, Blake, my girlfriend, me, and then the aisle. And then the stage was that way. So she was to my left. So that way she couldn't like face me in the same way, because she'd really have to look at the stage that way. I actually thought about this.
Gee. God, that sounds so stressful.
Yeah. So we have a friend, Steve, that goes to, he was an intern. Jesse like managed our interns when we used to have them at KISS. And his name's Tyler. And he just moved back to Toronto, actually. And Tyler is a huge U2 fan and outright refuses to go to U2 concerts with anybody. Because he doesn't want to know anybody at the U2 concert. He wants to enjoy the experience on his own, so you don't fuck with his vibe.
Yeah, he wants to watch the music. He doesn't want to sit there with a friend who's going to talk and is going to do anything. He just wants to sit there and watch U2 play music.
See, even that feels stressful. Like, what's that about? Like, why wouldn't he want to experience that with someone?
I think knowing Tyler, he's very independent, which I can relate to. Like, I'm the kind of guy who'll go to a movie by myself or eat by myself, or I don't care. Only child, whatever. But I also think, like, when you love something that much, you want to experience it in your way. Have you ever been to a movie that you really loved, and then you went with a partner, and then a friend, partner, whatever, and you come out of it and you go, wow, that was great. And they're like, I fucking hated it. And it just sort of wrecks the thing. I think Tyler's like, I want to enjoy this and not be distracted or worried about how someone else is doing. I don't know that anybody's going to love U2 on the same level that Tyler does.
Right. Music is also a personal experience where it's like he doesn't probably need somebody else to enjoy it with.
Yeah.
Him enjoying it with himself is the experience. He doesn't need to share that with anybody because him enjoying the music is what he's doing.
It like most of the time you're listening to music, it's alone too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe Tyler's right.
Well,
but that also sounds very lonely and sad.
I'll tell you this. Jesse, I went to Way Home with Jesse. We saw Kendrick Lamar, and I ran into Jesse in the crowd. Remember?
Yeah, because I was in the photo pit because we had one photo pit pass, and then so I was by myself in the photo pit, and then I had to go back to the crowd after the first, I think, 3 songs and just find everybody. Yeah.
Right. So we've and I don't think Jesse even noticed we were there. It was the only 2 people at Way Home that night were Jesse and Kendrick Lamar. That's it. When All Right came on, Jesse was moving. And again, nobody else in the audience, just Jesse.
I didn't need anybody. I was enjoying the show.
Music
how tough is it being the person who you see Jesse and you're like, oh, just don't stand in front of me. Just don't.
Oh my God.
Just don't stand in front.
Don't put that stress on me.
Shit.
I know the terror I bring to concerts.
How many times have you been told to move aside?
All show.
People spread out behind me. Like if I turn around, there's like a little space behind me where no one can stand behind. It's like I can't do anything about it.
No, what are you supposed to do?
One thing I've done at concerts that are in an arena, I sit on the back top of the seat, so it drops my height to like a 5 something. So I sit on top of the, because if I'm standing up, I'm 6'4" or 5", whatever. But if I sit on the back of the seat, I can drop my
I've
foot.
never noticed that.
So yeah.
I've been going to concerts with you. Wow.
You're not supposed to put your feet on the seat, obviously.
Right.
But I'm trying to do good by the people behind
this
me.
nice man.
Because like the rows, I'm very cognizant of my height.
Right.
How can I not be?
So here's what we're gonna do. If the three of us ever go to a concert together, I'm gonna try to buy the seats that are against the wall, so that way you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Those are good seats. Those are always really good seats in the first bowl, like right against the wall. It's good.
Sure.
Anyway,
anyways.
it was
Super Bowl was great.
Spectacular Super Bowl.
It was about
really
an hour there from like the middle of the second to like the middle of the fourth quarter, where the football was just terrible. And the Rams just kept trying to run the ball, and they couldn't run the ball.
Man, they couldn't get anything going.
And then the Bengals couldn't get anything on offense. It was terrible football for like the middle portion of the entire game, but it was entertaining.
And honestly, up until like a couple of years ago, when Brady and the Patriots came back against Atlanta, Super Bowls are usually a big fart. Like they're usually not great. The football is usually not great. And it's usually like a dominant team. Even pre-Patriots, it was always like one team comes in and crushes the other team. And I think more recently, they've become a little bit more competitive, and we see some that's a crazy finish with 125.
Oh yeah. The ending of this game was fantastic. But to your point, they say a lot of that is because of how unnatural the Super Bowl is to every other NFL game that you play in your career. Because for the pregame ceremony, it's extended by like triple the amount of time you have to be on the field. Halftime is double the amount of time that you have to be there. And then like there's little things like the ball that you kick to start the game. It was a big deal because it's a commemorative ball. Like it's a ball that nobody ever uses in a game, but the kicker's got to kick off with it, and then they run the ball off to the Hall of Fame. So every kickoff ball goes to the Hall of Fame. So it's a special ball. And like there's so many little things like that happen in the Super Bowl that the football is usually terrible when the players get down to playing the game.
There were two things.
Terrible.
Two very unusual things.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, by the way.
Two very unusual things, and both with the Bengals. One, wasn't there a player who just didn't go in for halftime? He just watched the show.
Yeah, Evan McPherson, the kicker, stayed out on the field to watch Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg just so he could take in the halftime show.
That's cool.
Hilarious.
Are you allowed to do that? I didn't know you were allowed to do that.
Also, did the Bengals get a penalty because some random player who was not dressed ran on the field?
For their first touchdown, an inactive player in just literally slides in a hoodie, ran on the field, and they got a penalty. Because of the Super Bowl, and why not?
Never seen that in my entire life.
No,
that's hilarious.
That's amazing. It was by the way, I felt like they definitely did the makeup call at the end of the game too. Because the missed face mask pull was insane.
That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. You could see it in real time and in slow-mo that it was a face mask. Yeah. And it was offensive pass interference. And then, at the end there, the penalty calling was suspect, the referees. After not calling penalties all game on the final drive for the Rams, they call like 4 penalties at the goal line. Yeah,
it's odd. And I think it goes back to, and I wanted to bring this up because of review. The NFL is really the first league that got review, I think, sort of right. Mm-hmm. And they're not there yet. But when you could score a touchdown, and Steve, I'm not sure if you remember what one I'm talking about here, but it was the touchdown that put the Bengals up 20-16. Or 20-13, I think at that point. One of their players grabbed the defensive player's mask, and the defensive player was sort of turned around, and then the wide receiver is wide open after grabbing the mask and turning him around, and grabs it and goes and scores a touchdown. And I look at that and I go, how is that not reviewable?
Right.
Like we can see that.
Right.
What like at that, like if we're gonna have review, if we are gonna slow the game down, the coach can't throw a flag on that?
So they do stuff where they can just have if it's an obvious turnover, they can just have mission control radio down to the referee and be like, okay, turn that around, without stopping the game, doing anything. They should do that. But they say it doesn't apply to penalties. And I don't know if this is the cause to be like, okay, if it's an egregious penalty, you can just have somebody look at a replay once and be like, okay, Higgins grabbed Jalen Ramsey's face mask, turn that around. But I don't know. Where does the line go? Like in terms of like hockey challenges, football, and sports, like where do we stop it with replay?
30 seconds.
In hockey, it should be 30 seconds. If you've pressed someone's zone for like 45 seconds to a minute and it was offside originally, I still think the goal should count.
Like,
Because
how hard is it?
Because it's hard to press somebody
if
that
there's
long.
a penalty on the ice, say it's a slashing call, and it was actually a whiff, like he didn't actually slash him, but it looked like he slashed him in real time. They call a slashing.
They should
penalty.
negate the penalty.
They should have somebody there looking at the
Instead
replay
of
and
two
negate
refs
it.
on the ice, have one up in the fucking stands.
So there was a really bad one in the NHL recently where Tyler Mott of the Vancouver Canucks had his stick slashed out of his hands with it was a stick lift. But then the stick that is no longer in his hands high sticks someone on the other team, and he got a penalty for it. The penalty, now missing that in real time, I suppose I could understand. Then there was a TV timeout where one replay would have fixed that. Watching the replay once. So that's why I said 30 seconds. You get to see the replay. Oh yeah, no, I got that wrong. Let me just double check. And yeah, I got that wrong. And we switch it. It's like, I think the face mask thing you were talking about and the hockey one I was just talking about, those are great examples of something you need to watch twice to be safe. Slap, slap. It's done.
Agreed.
How hard is that?
Do you worry about the slippery slope?
Well, okay, so first off, anybody that drops a slippery slope argument on you
Yeah.
is full of shit because slippery slope arguments do not actually stand up to actual criticism, proper criticism. They do not hold water. Secondly, in if you watch like a courtroom drama, what do they say? Oh, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt, right?
Reasonable doubt.
Reasonable doubt, beyond a shadow. If there is beyond a shadow of a doubt, okay, that was a penalty or that call should be called back, then yes, I think there should be a rate. If someone goes, you know what, it's really fucking egregious. Like it's embarrassing. We're going to embarrass ourselves. It should be the please don't let this league embarrass themselves clause. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be on everything. But if we're talking about like if I drop the people's elbow on Jesse in the middle of a hockey game and the ref misses it, somebody should be able to say he probably should get kicked out. Right? The ref missed it, but we should be, or at least make the ref look at it.
Do we care about...
Make the ref, like the official on the ice gets the call, but make them look at it.
Do we care about the human element?
I mean, if you're going to have instant replay, you're already negating the human element. To me, it's like it's one way or the other. If you want the human element, take away instant replay.
It's one thing where it's one of those plays where you don't actually discover it until you get back from like TV timeout. Oh, this was missed, or the offside review in the Leafs Canucks game the other day. Like, come on, like so close, right? But something as egregious as a face mask or getting a high sticking penalty when you're not even holding your stick, something like really simple like that. 30 seconds, it takes nothing away from the game. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, me too. I am also, by the way, I am team get rid of all replays altogether. I don't think they should. I am.
What?
Yeah, I am. I've always been that way. I think if you want humans to ref the game, you should expect human mistakes.
So what about everything we just said?
Because if you're going to have replay, at least do it right. That's my opinion.
And not on the broadcast either.
What do you mean?
Just have one camera.
Just one shot?
Yeah.
It's like in soccer, there's just one shot back and forth, right?
That's it. Yeah, no replays.
Like the women's under 18 to put a fisheye lens at the end of the arena. Just watch the game from there.
Oh, man.
All right, and welcome to one of the most prestigious tournaments in the world. The under 18.
We care about women. We care about them.
We got a ring light, everybody.
The best and brightest. No, come back. Yeah. We need that. We definitely need that. I like the slippery slope that, I'm not in studio today, which means I might not be in studio in a couple days or any Monday or Wednesday ever. And then, how soon until it's just all days that end in Y and I'm just never there.
It's true.
What happens if this ends the show?
It's a good point.
And we just don't do it anymore.
Because you
slippery slope.
Because you won't get out of your house.
I just won't leave my house.
I can see that.
Yeah, I didn't know if that's slippery slope or something that's eventually going to happen.
Yeah, maybe it's the parking. Is that the Is the parking going to do us in?
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, do you pay property tax? That's my first question. My second question is why? They don't do anything where you live. They don't shovel anything.
They just removed all the snowbanks, so you can actually park in front of the house now.
No, they're still there.
There's a lot of ice.
Did
There's a lot of ice.
Also, nature when it thawed for a couple days.
they is the sun.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? There's snowbanks everywhere and parking is terrible.
Yeah.
I know where to go to find salt. The city of Toronto, where they have used none of it this year. And I can just borrow it and bring it to Oshawa. Use it on our sidewalk.
Up in Nat's parents live in live north of the city in they have a cottage, and I guess it snowed so much just outside of the main town there that they're rationing salt and sand now. And I'm wondering if that's what's happening in downtown Toronto too. By the way, where Steve parks, which is a government parking zone, Green P, completely paved or plowed and looks amazing, and was from day one. Clearest part in the city is Green P.
Yeah, they need to make their money.
Yeah, they do. Damn straight. They got to make their money from tickets. Roses are red. Violets are blue. Don't let those wild pubes wreck things for you this Valentine's Day. Remember, our sponsors at Manscaped, show sponsors, title sponsors, may I add, because we love them. They're here with the best tools. We got to get your balls ready for the special occasion. Whether it's Valentine's Day where you're listening to this or after Valentine's Day, you still got to be careful. So this Valentine's Day, join over 4 million men worldwide who use and trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. And our exclusive offer, by the way, go to manscaped.com and use the promo code DANGLE, because it's Manscaped and it's your balls, 20% off plus free shipping. We've told you about the Performance Package 4.0 all the time. How about what we talk about with the packages? You know, we talked about the trimmer. We talked about the ball deodorant. Let's talk about this, the Weed Whacker. It's for your nose and ear to whack away all the worst of those weeds. I have to tell you, my girlfriend said to me this weekend, she's like, I had to do my nose hair, and she was polite enough to mention that I needed to do my nose hair, so I did it. And she's like, you could also hit your ears. And I was like, oh my God, I'm 33 years old. How is that even possible? But it's true. And she said, listen, it happens. So why not take advantage of the Performance Package 4.0? Get yourself the Weed Whacker, and they throw in 2 free gifts. The travel bag itself, which is amazing. You can keep all your Manscaped gear in the travel bag, and the anti-chafing boxer briefs to keep the boys stored comfortably. And if you got big legs and a big butt like me, avoids the chafing. It's a beautiful thing. So again, go to manscaped.com and use the Steve Dangle Podcast promo code. What's the promo code? It's DANGLE, because it's your balls. Let's keep them clean down there. 20% off and free shipping. Enjoy at manscaped.com. Is there something preventing you from achieving your goals? Is there something that interferes with your happiness? You should feel your best, but for some reason, something's hanging over your head. You might want to check out betterhelp.com/STP. BetterHelp will assess you and your needs and match you with a professional therapist that will work with them. You can connect in a safe, private online environment. It's so convenient. You start communicating in less than 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is just professional counseling done securely. You can message your counselor anytime. You get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can plan your weekly schedule to be video or phone, all without having to sit in uncomfortable waiting rooms. And BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need. Because listen, you're not going to connect with every counselor that you have. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. It is for clients worldwide, and it's everything from depression, stress, and anxiety to self-esteem, grief, sexuality, family conflicts. So many things are offered, so many things are covered, and we want you to live a smarter, happier life. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/STP. Join over 1 million people who have already taken charge of their mental health. Again, it's BetterHelp, better, BetterHelp.com/STP. You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, and you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you something. It's about a simple way you can get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place, and that means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can also learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Now, I want to ask you guys about Vancouver. Thatcher Demko making 51 saves is getting goalied, right? That counts as getting goalied, right?
Yes, but not all getting goalieds are equal. I think the Leafs were far and away the better team and got goalied. And, some things are unfair. John Tavares got hurt in the playoffs last year. That's unfair. And then James Myrtle comes on and he goes, well, actually, if you're going to spend all this money on 4 guys, you leave yourself open to injury issues, potentially, which I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, if you're an extremely high-powered team that often outshoots opponents and often outchances opponents, but 2 or 3 of your defensemen are pretty bad, do you leave yourself open to getting goalied? Because what I saw on the first goal was Justin Hall not being able to push backward. It was really strange. And then falling onto Peter Mrazek, essentially. And when the Canucks were up 2-0, the shots were 4-2 Canucks.
Yeah.
So it's like most of that game was just one of the best offensive teams in the league getting the benefit of score effects. They tie the thing up. So then they leave it up to chance, and it's a 25-minute game. They allow a goal. Demko stops them all, and they lose. To me, people are acting like this is a 99 times out of 100 situation, and it's just not. It's just not.
It certainly has happened. Seemingly, I've heard it a lot this year.
Yes, and
they were better. They were the better team, but this happens when the holes on defense are that glaring.
Right. And I don't even think they get goalied because they lost the game in the first 2 goals. The first half of that first period is where they lost the game because they allowed those 2 goals. And then for the rest of it, they're playing catch up. And you can't play catch up every game because that's how you lose these games. You have to try and come back. And like you said, the score effect. So, and we need to stop acting like having a good goalie and playing from behind isn't just a thing that can happen on the ice. It seems like the other team having a good goalie is an excuse for you losing. And that's not the way it works because that can just be a member of their team.
Well, that's how they lost the Canadiens and the Bruins and the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Washington Capitals.
Those teams have good goalies. That's a part of their strategy for their team.
And most teams that win do.
We have weak defense. That's a part of our team.
One of my favorite hockey memories, I don't remember which year it was, but the Sens were the 2 seed. The Leafs were the 7. And there was no scenario where the Leafs were the favorite heading into that series. And guess what? Cujo goalied the fuck out of them.
He did.
And it was awesome. And the Leafs won. And no one gave a shit what the shots were.
That's true.
And listen, it's generally better. It's better. Would you rather be the team with the Leafs amount of shots or the Canucks amount of shots? The Leafs lost, it's not, this wasn't the miracle on ice. This was how many times in a season are you allowed to be miracle on ice? Because this is now what, 6? They've had a bunch of games like this.
Well, and Sheldon Keefe did mention before when it was one team, I forget who it was, they outshot immensely, and he's like, it was a lot of we had a lot of clean looks. Did you see that in this game?
Demko was great, man.
He was great. No, that's why I wanted to ask. Listen, it's one thing about getting goalied. Maybe we should define it because I always saw getting goalied as it's 0-0 most of the game. One team has 10 shots. One team has 40.
Right.
But if you're coming from behind and a goalie is just stopping you, then it's just stopping you.
Yeah, if you're trailing in the game 2-0, you're playing catch up, so you have to pepper a whole bunch of shots on the goalie, and those aren't going in. I don't think that's getting goalie.
Yeah, like I think we need to find what getting goalied is.
Yeah,
right. To me,
Getting
it's always
goalied-
a tight game with the team. Like, remember when Latvia almost beat Canada because of Elvis Merzlikins?
No, it was Kristers Gudlevskis.
Kristers Grzelskis. Remember when that almost happened? And like Latvians still talk about that. It was a 2-1. That is called getting goalied, and Canada won. But it's a team that is vastly inferior to yours with a goalie who stands on his head. I think that's getting goalied.
This, I don't know. This is maybe old, but getting goalied is something I don't need a number for. You feel it. You know, like getting goalied shouldn't involve you looking at the shots and going, oh, Leafs are getting goalied right now. You should have just seen a save and gone, Jesus Christ, they can't beat this guy. And then you look up and you go, oh my God, it's 40-19. What? But like, I keep referencing this Shesterkin game from earlier in the season. I didn't know the Leafs were getting goalied until I looked up at the shot counter because it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, there was like 20 weak shots to his chest.
Yeah, but it gets remembered as he goalied them because then he made like 2 incredible saves in overtime.
Right. And Thatcher Demko is a great goalie. He's done great.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's been the highlight even all the changes in Vancouver. Thatcher Demko would have been the best player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great for Vancouver going forward. It happens with the Leafs. You know, it's a Saturday night game. They lost it. Oh, well, they've got Seattle coming up, and that is tonight at 9:00.
That's exciting.
I hate Western Road Swings because I have to go to bed so early. It's such a bummer. But it'll be a good one, and hopefully they kind of get it back on track against the Kraken, who are
There's
bad.
a couple things from that game though on Saturday besides the getting goalie that I think the Leafs need to look at. One, we've mentioned it too many times, but the defense and Justin Hall in particular, just another awful night.
I don't want to dump on him because he seems like a great guy, but it's rough.
I thought Justin Bourne tweeted Saturday night that
I couldn't believe this.
Yeah, because he's
What did he say?
somebody who worked very closely with Justin Hall when he was a video coach for the Marlies, and he said that it's about time that Justin Hall moves to the press box or down to the AHL to just work on his game.
Here, can I read you a little thread?
Sure.
So it's the exact tweet from Bourne was, I mean, you got to put Hall in the press box for at least a bit, if not the AHL. Something's not right with him. Earl Schwartz, who I think is a wonderful Twitter account, especially for the Leafs and CBA stuff. He goes, if not the AHL is a bit extreme, you know full well he wouldn't clear waivers. Hall isn't playing well, but if the Leafs lose him, they're going to have to turn around and give up an asset at the deadline for someone just like him. To which Bourne responded, yeah, no, that's dramatic if we're being practical. But the sentiment is the point. Yeah, the AHL is probably a bit dramatic, but dude, this dude he's a negative factor on the team most nights. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he played 3 or 4 good games, and we were like, oh, like we're having to, as Leaf fans, talk ourselves into this player. And I just feel like with contenders, you shouldn't have to talk yourself into that.
Well, I think with Hall, you know, where he's coming off a pretty strong season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen Justin Hall do great. We've seen him be a great shutdown guy with Jake Muzzin. And you have to wonder what happened there. Is it injury? Is it confidence? I feel like the reason that, you know, we were so excited about the last 3 or 4 games is because it seemed like he was back and they need him to be back. Ultimately, you know, who do you move up?
All right.
Who do you move up?
There's no real Justin Hall replacement if you take out Justin Hall.
And I don't know if this person that was tweeting Justin Bourne realizes it or not, but you absolutely must go out and spend an asset at the deadline anyway. I'm not saying they should get rid of Justin Hall, but they're going to have to get a defenseman.
I think the way they made it sound on 32 Thoughts was like traction is picking up. Like I got the impression that a Nick Ritchie trade was going to happen sooner rather than later, which would be huge for the Leafs because that's a really difficult contract to move. It would free up a lot of space, and then I think you can make a move. Because if you're trying to make your team better with what you currently have, I just don't think you're going to be able to do it. If you're able to do it with Ritchie out of the equation, all right, now we're talking.
Yeah, and the Nick Ritchie, I said Nick Ritchie, one name. The Nick Ritchie contract comes with a little bit of trouble because it's through next year, and they can't just buy him out because then
and the money goes up.
Yeah, and the money goes up next year, so the Leafs are gonna have to throw in a sweetener, and I'm not worried, but I just don't want to see a situation where they're paying second round pick to get rid of Nick Ritchie. Like when
I think that would be high.
Yeah, that would be high, but I'm afraid Dubas might pay it.
No,
because he has a history of overpaying.
Not a second.
I mean, you have to overpay at the deadline. To be fair to Kyle Dubas, you have to overpay at the deadline.
Yes.
You are paying ultimate prices at the deadline.
And he does it often. He's very good at it.
He has done it.
It's a super skill.
It's difficult to tell in the moment, but the revelation of the trade call between Dubas and Kekalainen, that's easily the biggest takeaway from the Amazon series.
I reference it all the time.
All the time. Because he got his lunch money stolen.
Yeah.
And like, if we're talking about moments that petrify me as a Leafs fan, it's how nervous Marner was and Dubas just getting robbed at phone point by Jarmo Kekalainen.
And Nick Foligno's back.
In front of his boss.
Yeah.
In front of his boss. Oh, yeah. Nick Foligno's back gives me heart palpitations just because I know that feeling.
And how much Keefe swears.
He does swear a lot.
I would have been concerned if he didn't.
I want to say Elliot Friedman just tweeting right now. There are rumblings today. Tyler Toffoli and Calgary picking up steam. Let's see where it goes.
Oh,
that's a good fit for Tyler Toffoli. Sutter would love a guy like him, and he's under contract for a couple more years. That's a solid. If they get it done, it's a solid get.
Calgary should go for it.
Totally.
They have Markstrom to me has been the best goalie in the league. I think he's a front runner for Vezina right now. And if you're in that situation, you just go for it. You go at the deadline. You try and get a little bit of pieces around the offense there, and they could make a run, just especially in that division. That sucks.
Eric Engels now tweeting just 3 minutes ago. Flames are in on Toffoli and definitely in on Ben Sherratt as well.
Wow.
Ben Sherratt was just put on the IR. So they're willing to trade for injured Ben Sherratt.
They said it's not long term.
Okay.
A week.
Yeah.
A week, I think, is what Engels had. I got to say, I think those are both decent fits.
Renaud Lavoie is also saying that no trade call involving the Canadiens at this moment, but we could be announced one today. So I'm assuming if Elliot Friedman's saying rumblings and let's see where it goes and naming player and team, we're close.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty damn close. I'm curious about this. And we're going to talk about this a lot going into the deadline because I'm expecting the Leafs to get some sort of defenseman. I don't expect some sort of superstar. I know the fun thing is always like, what would it take to get Jacob Chychrun? Probably not what they're willing to pay. So, Steve, I'm usually behind the scenes, okay? Oh. And Jesse can, Steve and I are emotional guys. Jesse is solid as a rock. I'm usually the big dreamer, right? The big grandiose dreamer. Steve is more the guy that's like, I'm not sure. Is that fair? Right, Steve, sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah? Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah.
So I want you, as me, the Leaf fan, who has grandiose expectations and desires and visions, to bring me down to earth or reset my expectations as to what we should expect this trade deadline from the Leafs. What kind of player? You can name a player. It doesn't necessarily have to be the player, but a player of what ilk?
Don't say Luke Shen.
Why can't I say Luke Shen?
I was going to say Luke Shen.
Because all you've been doing all weekend is saying, Leafs should get Luke Shen.
Tired of Luke already. He's not even back yet. Already ran him out of town once. So do it again.
Yeah, you're right. That's fair. If your visions are big, I think you should knock that off. Dubas likes what's practical. What do we know? He's trying to win this year, number one. And number two, if he doesn't, the team is going to go kablooey. So any move he's going to make is going to have to make sense for both scenarios. So that's why I think he wants a guy with term, because it just makes sense to get a guy with term. I think we're looking at getting someone who has maybe 1 year left, 2, if he's a really good boy and, eats all his vegetables and drinks all his milk. But it's probably going to be someone with just 1 year left. Most importantly, all your Damon Seversons, anyone you're thinking of, and it's with offense in mind, I need you to stop that. I need you to stop.
Klingberg, Severson, Chychrun, who else?
Like,
those are the names that I've at least have heard.
Klingberg, okay. Could they perceivably play on the power play? All right, no, you got the wrong guy. No, you got the
because you got
the wrong guy. Who did they go out and get last year? Who'd they go out and get? They went out and got Ben Hutton, Antti Suomela. I'm trying to think of the other depth guys they got.
Foligno.
They got Kyle Clifford this year. They got Nick Ritchie in the offseason. They got Foligno at last year's deadline. All the way back to when they lost Kadri, or just before they lost Kadri, Naz brings something that we don't have in abundance. They're going to, I keep talking about the Leafs wanting to get tougher because it's the truth. And also it's literally the weakness that the Toronto Maple Leafs perceive. This is the weakness that Brendan Shanahan sees. This is the weakness that Kyle Dubas sees, that Brandon Pridham sees, that Sheldon Keefe sees. I'm convinced of it. So they're going to go out and they're going to get bigger. If they can do that with depth forwards, they will. I'm not sure I see it. I could see Alex Kerfoot being on his way out the door to maybe make that happen. A player shaped like Luke Shen. Is that okay, Jesse? Can I do that?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as it's not Luke himself, because that's not happening.
Right. So I don't mind a player shaped like Luke Shen for the third pair. But top four right-handed D to me is the big, big, big priority. If you add nothing else to the team but improve there, you're a contender.
And what does that cost? What can they give up from this organization to go get that top four right D?
A name that I heard more over the last couple days is Mark Giordano.
With the Leafs?
Yeah.
Linked to the Leafs?
No, I haven't. He hasn't been officially linked, but I'm looking I'm looking around the leagues and what teams want. Who are the sellers and what do teams want? We already know the Seattle Kraken aren't terribly interested in being relevant yet.
No. They proved that at the draft day.
They could have been.
Yeah.
They could have been. You're right. But, I feel like we're not talking about them enough as sellers at the deadline because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 UFAs up front.
Wow.
And 4 RFAs. This is just looking at their roster and cap friendly. 2 RFAs on D, 1 UFA on D, Mark Giordano. But I could look at Jeremy Lauzon and Hayden Fleury are 2 guys who can play both left and right D. They're in their mid-20s and they're RFAs at the end of the season. That's a situation I could see making sense because you acquire them and you keep their RFA rights.
Right. And you would
so
be willing to pay a higher price, younger player?
Didn't answer my question. What does that cost?
thought I did.
I said, what does that cost from the organization for the Leafs?
But at what cost?
What do they pay?
So here's the issue, right? The Leafs do not have a third. They do not have a fourth. They do not have a fifth. They do not have a sixth. Their seventh. Oh, no, they're going to be fine. So they have to give the Minnesota Wild a 7th round pick if Brendan Menell plays 30 games. It's not going to happen. So they got a first, a second, and a 7th to work with. And I don't even know if they're allowed to trade the 7th. So you're probably looking at dipping into your prospect pool. One name I was talking to someone about yesterday, and I don't know how much I love this, is Rodion Amirov, who was the Leafs' 15th overall pick just a few years ago. Now, here's why I don't like getting rid of Amirov. I don't think you're going to get anything for him, and it's an enormous risk for you. He's played 10 games in the KHL this year with 1 goal, 2 assists, and 3 points.
Okay.
Because the KHL, this is maybe a conversation for another day. The Leafs have got to stop drafting players who begin their development there.
Yeah, make them come over.
No, don't make them come over because they won't. So just stop drafting them. Sign them when they're Ilya Mikheyev's age. That's fine. But if you are relying on the coaches in the Continental Hockey League to develop your talent properly, you're doing it wrong. They're not going to do it. So they already weren't doing that with Rodion Amirov, and then he got hurt. So just nightmare scenario. His value is completely tanked. So you're not even going to get optimal value out of him. And he might end up being sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. He could be great.
Yeah. One thing I think the Leafs have going for them going forward is they've actually drafted really well. So teams are going to call asking about Matthew Nyes. Buddy, I'm not giving you Matthew Nyes. Topi Niemela. Well, buddy, I don't want to give you Topi Niemela. Nick Abruzzese? Maybe, but he was a guy I was reading on Twitter, who knows? That could be a decent spring acquisition for the Leafs. It's going to have to be a prospect. And one thing I could see being on the table is next year's first.
Oh.
Because you're going to want to, Jesus, the draft is going to be in Montreal and you're going to have to pick someone. Do we really believe the Leafs are going to go to Montreal with potentially just a 7th round pick? They're going to trade a first and a second.
So next year's first, do you think gets you a guy like Giordano?
Next year's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's a big price.
That's a big price unless he's going to play a couple more years.
I don't think I would endorse that.
Right.
I think no, Seattle says yes to it because it's an overpayment.
Right.
Yeah, you need Seattle to throw a pick in or something. Like a second.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Give me something.
But we also I was talking about Leaf prospects. We already know they don't really value their draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason why I think draft picks are still on the table is if the Leafs end up, failing out of this year's playoffs, they can just turn around and trade guys at the draft in order to get some of those picks back.
Sure. And I think I have to say, I would have agreed with you at the beginning of the season. If this team does not win this year past the first round, then you have to look at blowing it up. I don't think that that's going to be the case. Even if they do, this is just my personal opinion, but even if they do not make it past the first round, my belief is that the core 4 will remain intact. Morgan Riley, I believe they'll come to an agreement with Jack Campbell. Peter Mrazek will be traded, probably for picks at the draft. And that's my personal belief. And the reason I believe that is because they've had such a good offseason regular season, it would be very difficult to justify even if they don't win in the playoffs. Very, very difficult to justify.
Can I throw this out there? I think the biggest area of change in the summer, if the Leafs don't have a good playoff, is going to be in net.
Me too.
I don't think either guy's back.
Me neither. I know Mrazek's not back next year. We know that. They've already talked about that. That's a quote-unquote conversation for July, to quote Jeff Merrick. So I'm assuming that means unless they can't find something better, which they could.
There's no chance the Leafs go into the trade deadline without Jack Campbell either signed or traded. There's a chance he doesn't. Yep.
You're out of your mind. No way.
No.
I think it's possible.
No way. Steve, that would go against everything they've ever done. JVR and Jake Gardner and all the other guys Tyler Bozak, who all left via free agency. All of them were a quote unquote own rental, which I guess Jack Campbell will be too.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous take.
So you're going to have Mrazek? Mrazek and who?
Well, that's what I mean. So you trade Jack Campbell, Mrazek, and who? After the season they've put together? There's no way, Steve. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, no. A goalie comes back.
Oh.
Obviously.
So okay. But even so, why would you... This is the best... I still don't think that makes any sense.
I have a guy in mind.
Well, then tell us. You can't. Okay, you have to understand. Jesse, back me up on this. Your take looks ridiculous right now, so you have to give us something.
Saying they'll trade Jack Campbell is ridiculous.
The problem is the player I'm thinking of was once on the table, and I just don't think he is anymore because his team is good all of a sudden.
I think I know who you're talking about.
John Gibson. Jesse, you know all about that.
That's my goalie in NHL 22, 2026.
I've seen it work. I've seen him get you to the Stanley Cup final, and I want to see it in real life.
Jack, why would they trade John Gibson now?
Well, that's the problem.
Where's Anaheim in the standings?
Let's find out.
In a playoff spot.
Yeah.
With Zegras having the season he's like, why would you? The thing is, for me, I'd be like, I'm torching my guys just because here's the thing, Gibson's on a long-term deal, and it pays him I think 6-4. It's a good deal.
They're in a playoff spot, but
barely.
They're 3 points up on the Stars, but have the Stars have 3 games in hand. There's the Oilers. There's the Canucks.
They need that revenue, man. That's not a rich.
Imagine selling your number one goalie when your team is overperforming.
And $6.4 million bucks is a pretty solid price to pay for John Gibson. I think it's
4-4-2 in their last 10. Like the Flames have come on so hard. So have the Kings.
But they're ahead of them anyway.
Yeah.
Who's going to catch
Do we realistically think they'll be there by the end of the season?
Do we realistically think they're going to sell on their number one goalie who's in his late 20s?
If it's versus
Depends
Dallas or Edmonton or Vancouver, if I'm Anaheim, I take my chances.
Yeah.
Getzlav's having a great year comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
Zegras has been amazing. Like I don't know, man. I think you got to kind of go for it. Let the kids try.
The Pacific is weak enough that you can just ride this out.
I was.
Do you know something we don't know? Like, is there?
What is this?
Have you been
trade
hearing
Jack
something?
Campbell thing?
You must know something.
Well, you got to make a very expensive decision with him very soon.
I think they're going to resign him.
Cool. Well, he's currently playing his worst hockey.
Yeah,
and he's heading into a summer where he's going to get a big payday.
Yep.
Whether it's from you or someone else, and you're committing to him in a big way, not just because of the term you're going to give him, not just because of the money per season you're going to give him, but also you're going to probably work on getting rid of Mrazek as well, which we've already heard several times. Jesse did it in a video game, so I've seen it. I can picture him in a Leafs uniform.
By the way, we're running it back next season. This upcoming season, after we failed in the Stanley Cup final, we have re-signed our entire core. We started 14-4-1 at the beginning of the regular season. We're running it back. So stay tuned, Steve. You'll see how Gibson does.
The Leafs would be silly to not at least have a conversation. Hey, is this what we're doing here?
I'm sure they'd chat about it. And I know that Kurt Overhart's a tough negotiator, likes to get a lot of money for his clients, as any agent would. And I know that we've heard that the negotiations have happened. They've talked. Clearly, they're not at a number. I just, and I respect what Jack Campbell has done. I would be hesitant to commit too much term to him. I really would. And then if you don't commit too much term, then it's like, well, you've got Morgan Rielly at 7 and the big four at $32 million or something, whatever they cost, and that eats into a lot of payroll. It's
a big decision.
It is.
It's you need an answer. Like whether you commit to him, if they don't commit to him, what you said was this goes against everything the Leafs have shown us.
Yeah. Everything Kyle Dubas has done with quote unquote own rentals, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. Yes, he's happy to lose guys for nothing. I think he needs to knock that off.
But if history teaches us anything, it's that he's not going to do that. Yeah. And I'm with Adam in that they don't sign him and they just ride this out because that's what the Leafs have done consistently over this tenure.
To use Steve's example against him, Kyle Dubas will do the practical thing and hang on to the goalie that's here. Yeah. The practical thing is to hang on to Jack.
Remember last year when we were like, are you going to trade Freddie Are you going to do anything? What are you going to do? And then they just held on to them both.
Yeah, and they're like, hopefully Freddie's healthy. He wasn't.
Yeah.
But they were
still
hoping.
have Jack, and then it was all good, and he wasn't good in the end. But
and the question, too, becomes, can he turn it around by the trade deadline, even if you were going to trade him? I mean, because Jack Campbell wasn't a career starter. Mm-hmm. And I think there are still some lingering doubts out there. If I was another general manager, as much as Jack Campbell, and I say this objectively, is my favorite player on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. I love him. If I am another general manager, I'm like, yeah, he's started. He won the job from Freddie. He won 11 games in a row last year. We all heard that story. He's started off blisteringly hot this year, but he's got injury concerns, history of injury concerns, and he's been a starter for 18 months.
Right.
So I'd be a little concerned about that, I think, right? It's fair.
It's fair.
So I am curious. I wonder if what that plays into his negotiations. Now, I want to quickly talk about Montreal because in the games since Marty St. Louis took over, obviously Marty St. Louis took over last Wednesday after the Devils beat the Canadiens on Tuesday night 7-1. The Canadiens have played the Capitals, Blue Jackets, and Sabres since and have not won a single game.
Oh, I said earlier that the Caps game was the 2-1 on Saturday. No, it's 2-1 Columbus, I meant.
Yeah.
I was betting against.
Don't worry, I'm sure the comments already got you on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's corrected me
and I thought if the win was going to come, it was coming versus the Sabres, right?
Nope. It was never coming.
Doesn't have to.
It's 10-game winless. Like they can't get anything together.
Jeff Skinner had 4 goals.
Yeah, man. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Jeff Skinner. I was just taking a look at the standing. Like the Sabres
they're respectable.
They're not 2 easy points anymore. Like they're not good by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not automatic.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine. They're there.
They play how I think Montreal Canadiens fans want the Sabres want the Canadiens to play.
You mean the Sabres do?
The Sabres play how I think Montreal Canadiens fans want the Canadiens to play. Where it's every game they're out there trying hard. They're out there and you see things in the team you like, even though they're not going to win. You still have confidence. I think this is the point you've been hammering, Steve, consistently over this little stretch here for the Canadiens. It can't be desolate. There can't be nothing. With the Sabres, there isn't nothing. It's not desolate. They win some games. They try hard every single night. And with the Canadiens, complete opposite, where you can't really take anything away from these games.
But what I got a lot of is, this could be the Canadiens being the 16-17 Avalanche. Well, how about this year's Buffalo Sabres? They traded Jack Eichel at the beginning of the season. Then the return that they got for Jack Eichel didn't play for several months until Alex Tuch came into the situation. They haven't had a bloody goalie either.
No, they haven't.
Now, everyone's gotten hurt or been on COVID protocol and all that. They're 15-24-8, which is bad, but it's way better than 8-33-7. Their goal differential is -39. Habs are -85. Like, we're talking about bad but worth watching versus, again, Jesse, it's a snuff film every time they hit the ice.
And listening to Sabres fans, they love Alex Tuch. They're so happy in that deal that they got someone who wants to be in Buffalo, who's having, I think he's a point a game. Alex Tuch
been good.
That's
been real good.
You can't be more happy. And there's so much to look forward for Sabres fans. And you wish Canadiens fans had that.
Peyton Krebs.
Yeah.
Doing stuff. Look at
Devon
that guy.
Levi is at the Olympics.
Yep.
That's a Sabres prospect.
Yeah. I feel like the Canadiens, I have, Cole Caulfield scored. There are some positive signs of life here. But they're going to have to get a win in one of St. Louis' first 5, right?
I don't know.
They're going to have to do that, right?
They don't have to.
They're also 0-3.
I know.
2 more losses.
I know. I'm like, I thought they were going to win the first game with the guy.
By the way, the Hamburglar.
Oh, yeah, they got
Andrew Hammond, which is nice.
Dude,
what did we talk about last show?
Because, he's a dude who's not 22. And he cost you what? Brandon Baddock? He cost you a depth AHL guy for someone with a pulse?
Does Brandon Baddock come with a side of chips?
Oh,
and
stop it.
Oh, boo.
Boo this man. Boo this man. Boo this man.
But a little tartar sauce?
But it makes you wonder.
He's on New Jersey now, stupid.
It makes you wonder why they couldn't have done that earlier. Like, it's not like Andrew Hammond's value has fallen precipitously and now, wow, they could really take advantage and move up and get Andrew Hammond.
Bill Guerin had to talk his way up into getting Brandon Baddock. Like, shut up. Like,
this could have happened a month ago. Should have happened a month ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Now,
It's true.
maybe Hammond was hurt or something. I don't know. But
Hammond's the only guy. He's the only marginal NHL goalie available out there. So here's the problem. They're going to play the Blues on Thursday. Blues, chances are, will steamroll because the Blues are the Blues. The one thing I really think that they do have a chance on is St. Louis' 5th game as coach. That is against the Islanders on Sunday, February 20th. Now, can the Canadiens score? No. Can the Islanders score? No. So this will be a battle of which team can score at least one goal. And I think that that's what it comes down to. I think it's their best shot. And I think if I'm Brendan Gallagher, obviously I'm going to try in every game because I'm Brendan Gallagher and I'm going to try in every shift and I'm going to try.
of course.
But that is the game where I'm rallying the troops. I'm bringing everybody in and going, we are fucking getting this win for Marty. We are fucking winning this game. Win this game. And Hamburger will be in net for that. Unless he gets injured.
Yeah, Montembeault, I think, is going in their next game. And supposedly he's playing with an injury, I think I read. Like, still nothing is going right for them.
This injury could be psychological at this point.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case for most of the team. But the victory here is, if you're Andrew Hammond and Andrew Hammond's agents, I get an NHL salary. And if you're Caden Primo, it's, oh God, I don't have to put up with this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Poor guy is 22.
They sent him down.
And his numbers in the AHL are A-OK. A-OK. There's nothing wrong with this kid. They got to send him back down there before they ruin him.
Well, and I guess Marty St. Louis said, we're sending him down. And I'm going to have a chat with him beforehand just to make sure he knows that it's not because he did anything wrong.
Right.
I hope he knows.
Well, you're 22, right? It's still like when Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup winner Marty St. Louis sits you down, I think you listen to him.
Hopefully.
And you go, okay, well, I guess if he says it's not my fault, then it's not my fault. Because I can guarantee you, Marty St. Louis is a no bullshit guy. If it is your fault, you'll know.
His fire burns hot too.
Yeah. He's not gonna Babcock you and just freeze you out. He's gonna tell you instantly, I fucking hated that. Don't ever do it again. Which I respond to.
Let me throw this out there. Andrew Hammond's current, this is a great situation for him. His current salary is $750,000. His AHL salary is $200,000.
Oof.
Woo!
Got a bit of a pay raise.
That's a hell of a raise for Mr. Hammonds. Way to go, Mr. Burglar. That's some good stuff.
Can I throw in a side note for that game on Thursday versus the Blues? My favorite drama in the NHL right now, we've talked about it before, the Ville Husso Binnington drama in St. Louis. Husso checking in on his numbers, 10-3-1, 941 save percentage. You can't tell me
to the Oilers confirmed.
You can't tell me Jordan Binnington is a long-term solution in St. Louis.
Binnington
He's losing his job the same way he took the job.
Maybe Benner to the Oilers.
Start the rumors!
Whatever that noise was.
Start the rumors, ladies and gentlemen!
Whatever.
Binnington's out the door!
I think that's another situation where I think the Blues hang on to both goalies going into this playoffs and he gets traded at the draft.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they really believe in Ville Husso, and listen, Doug Armstrong does not, like, he was like, I'm willing to part with Alex Pietrangelo. If he's willing to part with Alex Pietrangelo, then he's willing to part with Binnington.
Like,
I did.
He's not,
very nice man.
Yeah.
Like, I was, what was shocking is that I guess a bunch of Blues fans messaged me afterwards after our agent provocateur interview with Armstrong, and they're like, Army doesn't say boo to anybody. He doesn't talk to people. He doesn't talk to the press. He does not. He's like, he'd be like what Lou Lamoriello was here. Lou Lamoriello said a lot of stuff but didn't say anything. Doug Armstrong's like Bill Belichick, doesn't say anything at all. And he's like, hey, listen, anytime it's easy to trade players, it's time to go. Like he was talking about trading Joe Nieuwendyk when Joe Nieuwendyk bought a house down the street like the day before.
People were just shocked
his
he
neighbor?
said more than 10 words.
Yeah. So
we got the Toffoli trade.
Oh, is it official?
Oh,
now?
wow.
Is Sherratt included?
Oh man, I've been keeping an eye on that the whole show. I'm like, we are not ending the show before we get an answer on this.
That's a good trade for the Flames.
All right, read it out, somebody.
You want to do it, Adam?
No, you go ahead.
Adam, go ahead.
Somebody read the damn trade.
No, go, Steve.
Here,
go.
Jesse, go ahead.
Go.
Adam, go ahead.
No, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
I wasn't.
I'm referencing our bit from a couple.
Oh,
shows ago.
okay. So a first round pick, a 5th round pick, and Emil Heineman, and Pitlick to Montreal.
For
who'd you get that from?
Friedman.
Oh, he had more than.
And what goes back the other way?
Tyler Toffoli, as far as I know.
That's it?
Yeah. Because remember, Toffoli's got 2 years left at a really reasonable kit.
Oh my! Read it again.
It's like Toffoli to Calgary, and then a 1st, 5th, Emil Heineman, and Pitlick to Montreal.
That's a steep price.
That's a steep price, but I'm thinking that honestly, with Toffoli when Toffoli signed in Montreal, everyone was like, Tyler Toffoli signed for less than $5 million. How is that possible? And it was because it was the lockout summer, not the lockout summer, the COVID summer. It's a good deal.
So, okay. So there's a few things here. So it's a 1st, a 5th. Mm-hmm. Pitlick, you'll remember, if I'm not mistaken, they got from Seattle for a 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Heineman, who's a 2nd round pick from 2020, but it says the team that drafted him was Florida. What deal was that?
Right, that must have been a recent trade.
I gotta look that up.
No idea.
I'll look that up. I'm looking it up right now. Sorry, everybody. Can we cut this part?
No, it's fine. Look it up. We're not cutting shit.
No, I'm looking at Calgary's line combinations because.
What do you got?
I think he
was in the Sam Bennett trade.
I think we're going with a second line of Mangiapane, Backlund, and then you move Coleman down and you throw Toffoli on that second line. So then Blake Coleman drops to your 3rd line with Monahan, Dubé, and then it's Coleman, and then Brett Ritchie drops off. You probably drop Trevor Lewis out of the lineup.
And what's the first line?
The first line, Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk.
And then hopefully Blake Coleman gets Monahan really going.
Right.
So Montreal essentially gets a 1st, a 2nd, and a 5th plus Pitlick. And Calgary essentially gives up a 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th.
That's a lot.
You could look at it that way.
Yeah.
Like if you pretend Pitlick was never there, mm-hmm. and you're just counting what they gave up for Pitlick, it's a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, and a 5th.
Okay. By the way, Sean Monahan is getting traded this offseason.
He's not having the best season.
No, here's what it is. So he signed his big extension after 82 points in 78 games. Then the next season, 48 points in 70 games. Then last season, 50 games, 28 points. And this year, he has, in 45 games, 19. Mm-hmm. Only 7 of those are goals. That is rough.
Yeah.
No salary retained.
Wow. Well, of course not. That's a great deal. If I was Montreal, I'd be like, I'm not retaining salary. Are you out of your fucking mind?
The salary retention is we did a good job signing him.
Yeah.
That's 3 Canadian teams for Toffoli in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Just bouncing around Canada.
Yeah. It's a really good deal. That's a really, really good. I think it's a good deal for both sides.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Calgary gets better, and they'll get another 2 years out of him, and Montreal gets exactly what Montreal needs.
Picks.
Somebody just tweeted me, please tell me you got the Toffoli trade on the pod.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah. Victory!
Yeah,
I'm going to tweet that right now.
I don't compliment Brad Trevor-Living very often, but I like the fact that he's rewarding this team that has a great goaltender that's been playing above expectations, to be honest.
Well, considering that they played below expectation for 3 years before that.
Right.
Yeah.
That they're finally proving that they're a great team, and I like that he's rewarding them with this deal. It's a great deal.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. This is fun. Our first big fat trade of the trade deadline season. I'm very excited.
It's starting.
And it's a good one. Juicy one. Okay, so I have a Black History Month profile that I would like to get into. Do I do it during the press conference or do it before the press conference?
I'll hit the button.
Okay.
We'll run some ads and we'll get into your Black History Month.
Beauty, let's do it. If you've got clients, you know that they demand instant responses. But now more than ever, businesses are spread thin. If you're losing your leads from visitors to your website or missing calls that could help grow your business, you could delegate those to Frontline Conversations with the best virtual reception service. It's called Smith AI. Smith AI provides businesses with award-winning virtual receptionists who handle your calls, your chats, your texts, and unlock new business at a fraction of the cost of hiring in-house staff. Smith AI is not your average reception service. Since 2015, they've combined the best receptionists across North America with AI technology for superior business communications and customer engagement. Their friendly and professional agents can screen leads for your custom criteria, schedule appointments on your calendar, and call back leads who complete your form. That's pretty cool. And it can be done by phone 7 days a week and also through your website 24/7 on a live chat service. They even answer texts and Facebook messages. They integrate with your preferred software. You can, if you use Salesforce, HubSpot, Candidly, and thousands more. Don't worry, it all works. Plus, they have English and Spanish-speaking receptionists that will block spam for free, including those annoying sales calls. As a listener to the show, you're going to get $100 off when you sign up using our promo code SDP at smith.ai. Visit smith.ai to read 5-star reviews and be sure to use the code. Again, it's SDP to save $100 at sign up. Don't let another day go by without Smith AI. Our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, stronger immune system in really easy, natural ways, you got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll agree that most of us are not huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning. You remember, like your grandfather with the multiple pills for each day of the week? It's my grandfather anyway. Athletic Greens can help you get rid of those extra vitamin bottles and finally make some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes good, and you'll enjoy daily vitamins every single day. You got to try Athletic Greens. And if you're a really healthy, conscious person, here's the great thing. Keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, don't worry. It supports that. It contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, and it still tastes good, and it costs you less than $3 a day. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in water every single day. That's it. No need for millions of different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 year's supply, 1 free year supply of immune-boosting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs along with your purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com, and the code is SDP. So it's athleticgreens.com/SDP to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk to you about the first black goalie in NHL history. I'd like to talk to you about the first black player to win the Stanley Cup in NHL history. I would also like to talk to you about the first black player ever elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Oh, and the NHL included him in the top 100 players of all time, along with, at the time, 3-time 30-goal scorer Patrick Kane.
Oh, God.
Steve, do you remember that?
That's a deep cut.
It's a deep cut. I'm doing that for the OGs.
That's an old podcast reference.
I'm talking about the one, the only, Grant motherfreaking Fuhr, everybody. Now, we love Grant Fuhr. Now, here's the thing. Grant Fuhr grew up, and so he's got he's got an amazing story. So he was drafted 8th overall by the Edmonton Oilers in 1981, and he was really kind of the guy a couple of seasons later. Andy Moog took the Edmonton Oilers in 1983 to the Stanley Cup Finals, where they lost. They got destroyed by the New York Islanders. Not really destroyed, but they lost. And the next season, management said, "Okay, it's going to be you, Grant." And Grant Fuhr takes them all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. He gets injured in Game 3, and Andy Moog takes them the rest of the way. Now, so he's known for those two that pairing with Andy Moog, and then later in the 80s it was Grant Fuhr and Bill Ranford. So he was, like, at the time, one of the best goalies in the league. Now, a lot of people, I think it's hot takey to say that, and a lot of people said it at the time, that Grant Fuhr doesn't belong in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You've heard this argument before, right? Steve, you've heard this. And the idea was, well, look at his numbers. So I figured I'd go back and look at Grant Fuhr's numbers. So let's have a look He's got a career goals against average of 338. His save percentage career-wise, it's below 900. It's 887.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, through the Oilers' years, Stanley Cup winning years, here's Grant Fuhr's save percentages all the way through. 899, 868. Those are his first 2 years, though. 883, 884, 890, 881, 881, 875, and 868. However,
read the win column.
The win column is a big part of that. Here's how many wins he had in his first season. 28, second, 13, 30, 26, 29, 22, 40, 23. Grant Fuhr in the 80s was every 80s goaltender. I let in a pile of goals, but he let in less of a pile of goals than the rest of the league. Grant Fuhr was spectacular even for that era, and that era is known for goals. That was the 12, what do they have, 12 goals was the average one season per game?
Something like that.
That's stupid.
403, 295, and 114 ties. Well above 500.
Were they doing the butterfly by then?
No, I don't think the butterfly kicked in until Hasek brought it in the early 90s with Chicago, right?
So
am I wrong?
Fuhr began in 81. Well, okay, let's all think about this for a minute, and I think this has to do with Fuhr's reputation. His career began in 81. It ended in 2000. So you want to talk about two incredibly different eras.
Yeah,
oh gosh.
No kidding.
Right? So we're talking about like 20 goals per game versus 2. and like
it's true.
It's I can understand why people would be confused, but I don't think like one of the the Gretzky, Messier, Curry, all that Oilers, they performed a lot of miracles. They did not win 5 Stanley Cups with a bad goalie. You know what I mean? Or however many it was with Grant Fuhr.
That's right.
I think it might have been 4. The wins, I think, wins on a single season basis do not tell the story, but you do need to look at his full career and you need to look at the era he played in.
Now, what matters the most, guys? Is it the regular season or the playoffs?
It's playoffs.
Playoffs. Now, I told you about all the save percentages, and that's usually my favorite stat when it comes to goaltending. Really, if you're going to get one stat that really tells you the story, this is the story. Grant Fuhr, in his first playoffs, as the starter for the Edmonton Oilers, the one where Andy Moog, had backstopped them the previous year, but Grant Fuhr became the starter in 83-84, their first Stanley Cup year. I told you that his save percentage wasn't all that great that year. You're talking about a guy with a goals against average of a 391. His save percentage, 883. In the playoffs, his save percentage, 911. Goals against
11
average,
and 4.
11 and 4. The next season, 15 and 3, and they didn't even win the cup that year.
Wow.
No, wait, no, they did win the cup that year. It was 85-86. They didn't win the cup. That is, and the next year he goes 15 and 3. He also had the 87-88 cup, which is Gretzky's last with the team. 16 and 2. This is a guy who was extremely special. Now, a couple other things I really respect Grant Fuhr for. One of them is a little more obvious. One of them is a story you've probably never heard before. So I'm going to start with a little more obvious. Grant Fuhr is one of the first players in the NHL to acknowledge he had a substance abuse problem.
Oh, wow.
Now, he stepped away and went to a 2-week rehab center. This is in 1990. So it was a long, long time ago. And you can remember 10 years ago how we talked about substance abuse. Imagine 20 years before that, right? Grant Fuhr was the first guy to say, I got a problem, I got to go to a clinic. And unfortunately, it looks like it was one of his exes that talked about the fact that it actually ended up being cocaine and that she used to find cocaine around the house. But he went, he solved the problem, and as Steve said, played until 2000. Was on some pretty good St. Louis teams, was on a pretty bad Toronto Maple Leafs team, but did bring us Dave Andrechuk, God bless him. And I was on a pretty bad Sabres. Yeah, the Sabres team wasn't great, I don't think, but it doesn't really matter.
They weren't the Leafs.
The other thing that I love Grant Fuhr for, and this is a bizarre story. So the Peter Pocklington Oilers are known contractually as Wayne Gretzky makes all the money, no one else makes anything. Right? Peter Pocklington was also the head of the NHLPA at the time and went to jail because he's a crook.
Yes.
The NHLPA and the NHL, by the way, Wild West at the time. If you listen to Alan Walsh talk about it, we're going to do more episodes on this, but you would not believe how short a time ago, I can't even believe the NHL survived, honestly, doing business this way. But he had basically backstopped the team to 4 Stanley Cups in 5 years and was not getting paid very much. So June 8th, 1989, with his agent on a golf course in front of reporters, he says, I'm retiring. Grant Fuhr retired with his agent right there.
In 89?
Yeah. Now, it was the first that anyone had heard of a frustration brewing between the Oilers and Grant Fuhr. I guess nobody knew at the time that they were at odds. And this is where the Pepsi logo plays into this. Did you know this? Do you guys know this story about Grant Fuhr and Pepsi?
I don't know where this is going.
So this is from the hockeywriters.com. A clever idea. His agent said, well, hey, wait a second. If we're not going to make any money from the team, what if I go secure a 5-year contract with Pepsi Cola, and this goalie that I represent will wear the Pepsi logo on each of his pads starting next season?
Okay.
So the Oilers won't give him a raise. Pepsi will make up the money. So Grant Fuhr was going to go into the season and wear Pepsi logos on his equipment. Now, it was clever, but there was obviously a major hurdle. The NHL prohibited players from selling ad space on their equipment, and they still do now. However, in his agent's opinion, the Oilers could have signed a special waiver allowing the client, if they didn't have the money, allowing the client to wear the logo on the equipment. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite simple. So what this ended up leading to was the Oilers are like, we don't have any money. That's why we had to trade Gretzky. The NHL's like, no flipping way. And the agent and Grant Fuhr think that it's the Oilers that are standing in the way, which leads to the eventual breakup of him being traded to Toronto, if you remember, in 1991. But he did re-sign. But I just thought, very, very interesting. So Fuhr had signed and given the club his retirement papers in early June, but his general manager never filed them with the league. Glenn Sather was starting to lose his patience with Grant Fuhr's agent, who was actively trying to force a trade at the time to the Detroit Red Wings. And the Detroit Red Wings were offering him a salary of about $400,000. And you have to remember, 3-4 years later, Gretzky's making $9 million a season.
So Cap Friendly does sometimes have retired players' money.
Mm-hmm.
And Grant Fuhr in 89-90 made $267,000.
Wow.
Right?
How much was Gretzky's at that same season? Yeah, that number.
Let me look that up, because Gretzky's are a little easier to find. Mm-hmm. I feel like this was a big part of my Gretzky trade tree. Let me try to find that.
Mm-hmm.
So even Gretzky's.
But Fuhr's
in the 89-90 season, Gretzky made 1.7.
And Grant Fuhr's making $200K.
200 something, yeah.
Wow.
You can understand why he rose his name. Now, at the time, people were like, what are Grant Fuhr and his agent even doing?
Mm-hmm.
This is souring the relationship. So eventually he does get traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But what I respect about the Pepsi situation is that Grant Fuhr was saying, I will not put up with this shit anymore. I have just won you 4 Stanley Cups in 5 years. I'll put a Pepsi logo on. I don't care. And so he inevitably ended up getting his money, and of course a lot more, because he continued his career long time with St. Louis. I mean, honestly, those St. Louis teams, I know Gretzky came and played for them for like a hot minute, but to me, St. Louis in the 90s are, it's Shane Corson, it's Brett Hall, and it's Grant Fuhr. Those are the players I really remember, and Chris Pronger. And it's just a fascinating story. I haven't gotten into the whole thing here, but I encourage you to look up both him talking about his substance abuse, because it's in his book, which I think was very brave. And also, I thought the Pepsi thing was super creative. He's out there going, okay, you won't give me a raise. These guys will. We're good. And Grant Fuhr, sitting on Steve's shoulder, wearing a Team Canada jersey. He played in the 1980, I think there was an 84 Cup and an 87 Cup, right?
I think that's the 87.
Yeah, it's the 87.
There you go.
And when you met him, Steve, what do you remember?
Oh, man. I remember being like, holy shit, I'm about to interview Grant Fuhr. I think this day was fairly ridiculous, because this was obviously at the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if it was Fuhr or Lanny McDonald. and someone from Nike's like, hey, would you be able to interview Grant Fuhr right now? And I'm like, or no, they said, would you be able to interview Grant Fuhr? I go, yeah, like if you let me like think of some questions. And they're like, no, we mean right now. So like I had done no prep. It's just they bumped into him and they're like, hey, can you do an interview with Nike? And he's like, okay. So I think it was him and Lanny on the same day, because I'm wearing the same sweater. That's how I remember it. I had to interview with no prep at all, just my love of hockey and the little that I knew about these two fine gentlemen. He was he was so friendly. He was an excellent guy, and it was you can't help but oh fuck. I remember what I remember about Grant Fuhr. And this was so intimidating for me. While I was interviewing him, first of all, it was in like the Molson Canadian hockey house. Mm-hmm. So like people are just there to like have a good time and, you know, maybe have a couple drinks or whatever. So we already got like Nike reps standing around me, producers standing around me, and a camera with a light pointing right at me. So that's pressure in the middle of what is essentially a party. But then who walks up behind the cameraman, and I can see him the whole time, but Gino Reda, who at the time he had been my boss for Junior Hockey Magazine, and he was essentially my first boss in the industry. I would write his scripts, and I would, you know, prep his questions for people for a junior hockey show. And here he is now watching, and I assumed judging my interview with Grant Fuhr. So I was shitting a brick. I was really nervous.
A cool full circle moment. Full circle moment. Grant Fuhr to me is one of the braver NHLer players. Because remember, guys, he's the first black goalie. He's the first black player to win the cup. First black player in the Hall of Fame. Comes out, talks about substance issues. That alone, to me, makes him a guy that we need to shine more focus on. And I get with the Oilers teams, it was like Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. Grant Fuhr is one of the Hall of Famers. And of the group of Hall of Famers, he probably gets the least amount of fanfare. And I think that should change. This is the guy that backstopped them. This is the guy that was there in all the hard games, keeping them in. And I don't give a shit what you think about his goals against average and his save percentage. The guy won the cups. He's got 4 rings on these fingers, and then I believe he was injured for the Stanley Cup playoffs in 89-90 when they won again, but he still got a ring. Still a part of that team. Guy's a genius. He was amazing. And actually, hopefully somebody we can have on the show one day. Now that I think about it, I would love to know. I would love to talk to Grant about that.
It would be lovely. It's a Hall of Fame choice where if you're only using numbers, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah. And you can't just look at numbers, can you?
No, not every goalie has his story.
Yeah.
And you know, he holds a unique place in history for a number of reasons. That the Hall of Fame without him would be wrong.
Next up on our Black History Month tour, I'm just picking and choosing topics at random because I really like them. I always wanted to talk about Grant Fuhr because I had a bunch of his hockey cards growing up. Now I want to tell you about on Wednesday's show, the Harlem Hellfires. I remember I told you I said I was going to talk about it. They are one of the more fascinating aspects of World War I, a war full of amazing, incredible, fascinating aspects, and I'm really excited to talk to you about that. So we'll do that. Jesse, do we have any questions for the press conference?
Yeah, we're going to end the show on a bit of trivia from our Discord channel, the press conference channel on the Discord server. This is from The Hockey Hero. They write, this year, Nick Suzuki was Montreal's all-star.
Okay.
Who was the last Montreal Canadiens forward to be an all-star? Surprisingly been a little bit when you look at their forwards.
So Max Pacioretty was like always hurt, so I'm going to say not him. And also Subban probably
forward
took a few of those years. Well, no, that's why I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
sorry. Subban would have taken an all-star slot. Price would have taken an all-star slot.
Mm-hmm. We're not reaching back to Kovalev, are we? Are we going that far back?
I'm going to say it's someone ridiculous like Brian Giunta or
Briere, Danny Briere.
No, I don't think it would have been Briere. Who was the other name I just had? I'm going to say Giunta.
I will say Scott Gomez.
Oh, that was the other guy.
2016.
No, we're wrong.
John Scott.
Oh!
He is the last Montreal Canadiens forward before Nick Suzuki to go to the All-Star game for the Montreal Canadiens.
God.
John motherfucking Scott.
That's so good.
That's a great trivia question.
That's really good.
I would love to have him on and ask him if they ever even issued him a jersey.
Oh, yeah. He got to take that home. Oh, you mean the Canadiens?
Yeah, because he never played for the Canadiens.
No, they sent him right down, right?
No, he ended up playing, I think, the last 2 games of the season. Let me look.
Oh, they called him back up.
They threw him a bone
Nice.
At the end of it.
Oh,
He
how
played
nice of
one
them.
game.
One
He
game.
played 1 game.
Okay, so
Minus one penalty.
So he had the option to take home the jersey then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
John Scott.
Yeah.
Great trivia.
Wow, that was great trivia. Great trivia. Okay, so we will be back Wednesday. We will see you then. Have a fantastic week. And in the meantime, today is a 2-podcast day, which means CJ show also coming out. I think they missed the trade, though. Mm-hmm. We got the trade, and they didn't get it. Ha! Take that, CJus. He's in California. I'm a little jealous of him. Or somewhere south, anyway.
I know. I'm very upset.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.